How to get from busy to balanced. 5 simple ways to create space in your busy life. So, living a balanced life is something that I would think we probably all strive for in some way. And I really believe that creating balance is easier than you think. And that's because there is so much more to balance than just shifting around our schedules or how we manage our time. And there are concrete, simple things you can do every day to create that balance in your life. Now, maybe you've been pursuing minimalism for a while, or maybe you've just started decluttering, or maybe neither of those. Maybe you're just fed up and tired of having so much to do. Whichever category you fall in, I'm sure you've come to realize that creating or finding balance is so important. And you're right, it is. But finding that balance can be tricky if you don't know where to start. We've all been there. So just like all of us, you probably find yourself wanting more time to relax or pursue your passions. But you still have to be an adult and have grown-up responsibilities, like working a full-time job. So I want you to know that you're definitely in the right place today if you feel like there is just not enough time in the day to get everything done. This webinar is for you if you constantly feel overwhelmed by how much you have to do. This webinar is for you if you struggle to make time for self-care. This webinar is for you if you are frazzled and find it hard to focus on your growing to-do list. And finally, you are in exactly the right place if you feel discouraged by your busy schedule. Now, we're going to have 3 main things that we'll talk about today. First, we'll dive into what it actually means to have a balanced life. And spoiler alert, no, it does not mean just having loads of free time. We're going to talk about why having that balance is so important. And then we'll get to the juicy stuff and learn 5 simple ways to create balance in your life. And by the time we're done, you're going to have a list of easy, actionable steps that you can use to create more space and more balance in your life. But don't worry, you don't need to overhaul your schedule or your daily routine. I know you've got things to do, and you're not going to need to clear out tons of extra time in your day. These action steps and strategies that I'm going to give you are things that you can do with just 10 to 15 minutes to spare. And some of them actually don't take any time at all. They are that easy. But not just that, you're also going to have so much confidence knowing that you don't have to wait for a balanced life to just happen, because it won't. But you'll leave here knowing that if you have the power to create a balanced life now, today. So before we actually dive on in, I'm sure you're wondering, who even am I? What makes me qualified to tell you anything? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and my story. So I spent 7 long years of my life working a dead-end, soul-crushing job. And at the same time, I tried to have all the hobbies and do all the things. Like really, I knit, crocheted, quilted, did arts and crafts, baked. You name it, I did it. And because of all of that, I barely slept at night. I had 0 downtime. There was just too much to do, and I was exhausted. And at that time, I genuinely believed that that's what being an adult was like. You grow up, you get a job, and then stress is just part of your life forever. Like an exhausting little friend that follows you around and you can't ever get away from them. And I just accepted that. But then in the summer of 2015, my life started changing. That summer, I found minimalism and really started what that would look like for my life. I probably went way overboard on downsizing, but I fondly refer to that summer as the Great Purge of 2015. And it was because of that lifestyle change that my perspective and my priorities really started to shift. So I ended up ditching most of the hobbies. And in early 2016, I began to see the incredible value and importance of practicing self-care. And it was later that year that I realized being stressed didn't actually have to be part of my life. And I decided to start living on my own terms. And I wanted to be able to help others do the same. So in December of 2016, just about a year ago, I launched Crafting a Simpler Life to be able to help all of you create a life of simplicity and balance and to learn to live on your own terms. And that's where my passion is. I want you to know that you deserve better than stressed out. And a stress-free life isn't only something that you deserve, but I believe it is 100% attainable. And all it takes is a few simple changes. All right, so now that you know a little about me, let's go ahead and we're going to dive on into creating balance in our lives. So, what is balance? What does it mean to have balance? And most importantly, what does having a balanced life even look like? It's important that we know the answers to these questions. I don't want balance to be some vague idea that you have in your head. I want you to really define it. Because the clearer the picture you have of what you want, which in this case is a balanced life, then the easier it's going to be for you to make it happen. You can't achieve what you can't see. But it's important to note here that balance is going to look different for everyone. There's no default balance. It's not like some set magic number or ratio of how you spend your time. It's going to be different for everyone. But it's also important to note that creating balance is not a scheduling issue. Balance isn't dividing up your time 50-50, work and play. You don't have to relax just as much as you work to be balanced. You don't have to relax more than you work to be balanced. And you definitely don't have to spend the exact same amount of time on each task throughout the day to be balanced. Balance isn't about time management because it actually doesn't have anything to do with time at all. Creating balance is about nurturing your mind and your soul. When we usually think of balance, we think of it as being between work and rest. And that's only a little true. That's the surface level of it. But when you dig a little deeper, you find that what we're really looking for is a balance between what drains you and what refills and nurtures you on a deeper level. So, why is that important? Why do we even need that kind of balance? If it's not going to help clear out your schedule, then what's the point, right? Well, at first, you might be thinking that it should be obvious why balance is important. But it is so easy for us to lose sight of why we need this kind of balance. And it's even easier for us to forget to create it. When you create balance and nurture your mind and spirit, you'll be more focused. You're going to get more done because you'll have so much more mental clarity. Your thoughts aren't going to be jumbled and you're not going to be frazzled. Because after all, frazzled is kind of the opposite of focused. And when you're more focused, the natural result of that is you won't feel as rushed or stressed. If your mind is clear and focused, then when new obstacles or a stressful situation comes your way, you're not just adding one more thing to a jumbled pile. You'll have a clear mind so you can address and process the situation instead of feeling like it's just one more thing. And all of that together, all that means is that you'll be calmer. But I'm not talking about calm as in handling situations like a champ. So for example, I am super type A personality, and it's really, really easy for me to freak out over anything. But since I've started putting these strategies into practice and creating balance in my life, I have become so chill. Like, it's really amazing the change I've seen in myself and in my personality. And overall, all those things are just going to make you feel better. And if that isn't reason enough for something to be important, then I don't know what is. So now for the part you've been waiting for. We know what balance is good. We know what balance is. But now, how the heck do we go about creating it? How do we recharge ourselves when we're busy or at work? Well, here they are. 5 simple ways to create balance, nurture your body, mind, and soul in just 10 to 15 minutes each day. Number 1, practicing positive affirmations. Basically, to practice positive affirmations, you're just going to have a list of positive, uplifting, or encouraging phrases that you say to yourself several times a day. So I know this one always kind of seems ridiculous at first, and you may feel really silly doing it, but it is so important to think good thoughts and say good things. And that's because we believe the things we hear the most. And so it's whether those things are said to us by other people or the media, or most importantly, the things we say to ourselves in our own heads. Whatever we say to ourselves the most is what we begin to believe. So you want to make sure the voice in your head is saying good things. And above everything else, be kind to yourself. What you think shapes your reality. Okay, whoa now. You may be starting to think that maybe I've lost my mind, but I'm not talking about any kind of hocus pocus or manipulating reality. What I'm referring to is something called a confirmation bias. And what that is basically we train ourselves without even realizing it to only see things that confirm what we already believe. So, for example, if you're walking around believing that the world is just a terrible place and horrible things happen every day and people are just the worst, then those are the things you're going to see. You're naturally going to be drawn to the depressing news stories. You're going to hone in and dwell on anything even remotely negative or mean that anyone says to you. And all because it confirms what you already believe. But if you believe good things, you'll see good things. So if you believe people are good and kind, and that the world is filled with everyday miracles, you're going to start seeing and looking for those things. Training yourself to notice the good in the world is going to fill you up, while noticing the bad is going to drain you. So ask yourself, what good things do you want to see in your life? Write them down and put them where you'll see them every day. And when you see your list of what you want in your life, read it out loud. Claim those things as if you already have them. Because as you do this, as you claim those things, you begin to believe that, yes, you do already have them. And then you'll start seeing it in your life. Now, if you're drawing a blank on what kinds of things to include in your list of positive affirmations, don't worry, I got you covered. I'm going to share with you part of my own list of affirmations. And these are things that I say to myself several times a day, every day. If I end up in a stressful situation, or if I start feeling a bit down about myself, I mentally hit play on this list and I just keep repeating them to myself. You are strong and beautiful. There is goodness all around you. You are capable of great things. Miracles happen every day. You deserve to be happy. And remember, you guys, a positive mind leads to a positive life. Number 2, meditation and learning to be present. If you don't already meditate, you really need to start. It is a game changer in so many ways. It's kind of like pressing the reset button on your mind for extra focus and clarity. And I promise that once you start a meditation practice, it will quickly become your favorite part of the day. If you want to create balance in your life, then you need to take time to be still. So, what is meditation? I know that there are some misconceptions about what it means to meditate, and I want to clear some of those up right now. Before I started a meditation practice, I had a lot of ideas of what meditation was, and every single one of them was wrong. It's just not what you initially think it is. So for starters, meditation is not just clearing your mind. We tend to have this idea about meditating that we're supposed to sit and then not think any thoughts at all. If you haven't figured it out already, that's kind of a little bit impossible. Our brains are always going to be thinking about or focusing on something. But what meditation is about is becoming present. And this means being present and aware of your environment around you, but also being in tune with what's happening in your body and spirit. So typically when you meditate, you're encouraged to focus on your breathing. And what that does is it gives you something to focus on. So you're not focusing on the jumble of thoughts in your head. But since breathing isn't a bodily function you have to think about, you just automatically do it, it allows you to become in tune and aware of what your body is doing. It helps you to become present within yourself. Meditation can also include your positive affirmations. And this technique is great if you're struggling to focus on your breathing. You can mentally hit play on your list of positive affirmations and focus on those while you do some deep breathing. And finally, meditation doesn't actually need to be done in a quiet room. Being somewhere quiet is definitely helpful, especially if you're just starting a meditation practice. But as you become more comfortable retreating into yourself, you'll be able to meditate anywhere. Because after all, it's the practice of becoming present. And of course, there are huge benefits that go along with practicing meditation. When we mentioned before that it helps with focus and clarity, but meditation also helps you become centered and grounded. And why is that useful? Because it helps kick worry and fear to the curb. Worry happens when we focus on an unhappy future. Worry is allowing ourselves to live in a future that we don't want. But meditation brings us back to the present. It grounds you in the here and now. And if you're present and your focus is on right here and right now, then it can't possibly also be on the future, can it? Meditation can help take your focus off the worries and off of the fears and ground you in the present. Number 3, be flexible with your to-do list. I cannot stress enough the importance of this one. If you're anything like what I used to be, you probably have a huge to-do list. And when you have a long list of things to do, everything feels super important, right? But the reality is that if everything is a priority, then nothing is. You need to be able to decide what's important and ignore the rest. And just in case no one has told you today, you don't have to do it all. It is 1,000% okay if you don't cross off every little thing on your list. One of my favorite ways to help me prioritize what I have to do is to do a brain dump. What is a brain dump, you ask? It's only one of the best things ever. I like to do this every morning or any time during the day I feel like I've got too much going on. And it's easy. Grab a pen and a piece of paper and write down everything on your mind. And I mean everything. All of the errands you have to run, all those nagging thoughts of, you need to remember this and don't forget to do that. Even write down anything you're worried about or that movie you think you might want to watch later. Absolutely everything on your mind, write it down. So for now, we're just going to focus on the to-do list part of the brain dump. So you're going to take that list that you wrote, find all of the actionable items, and put those on a to-do list. Everything else that wasn't actionable, go ahead and just tuck that list away for later. You don't need to deal with or think about any of those things right now. Go over your new list and highlight 2 to 3 priorities or anything that's time sensitive. And make sure you are really picky. One method that works for me is asking myself, if I could only get one thing done today and still feel like I've accomplished something, what would that thing be? Once you've got a few things highlighted, put those on a list all by themselves. That is your new to-do list. Focus on those things. Think of anything else as a if I have time list. If you don't get to those things, that's fine. You can make time for them tomorrow. The goal here is to keep your to-do list short because that is actually going to help you get more done. If you only have 2 or 3 things on your list, that's easy. That's going to motivate you to actually get them done because only having 2 to 3 things to check off makes the list seem so much more doable. While a long to-do list is scary and intimidating, and often it'll make you feel discouraged. A long list feels impossible. And when that happens, you don't feel as motivated to even try, and then all your hopes and dreams are crushed in a burning pile of debris. Right? So maybe I'm being just a little bit dramatic, but you know what I mean. So instead of constantly trying to do all the things all at once, adopt a habit of single tasking. And this is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to focus on just one thing at a time. And when that thing is done, you can move on to the next thing. It's really exactly the opposite of multitasking, which doesn't work, by the way. Somewhere along the way, we got brainwashed into thinking that multitasking would help us get more done. If we just do 3 things all at once, we can get more done faster. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way because you're not able to focus or give all of your attention to one thing. You're not going to do each task as efficiently or as well. Multitasking doesn't actually help you get more done. It only allows you to do more things poorly. So remember, one thing at a time. It's okay to take things slow. You don't have to do everything all at once. Take your time. One step at a time, one day at a time. There's really no need to rush. All right, number 4, learn to say no more often. This is so incredibly important for creating balance, but it's something that so many of us struggle with. You need to remember that you're allowed to say no because your feelings and your happiness matter too. So, why do so many of us struggle with saying no? And why do we say yes when maybe we should say no? Most often we say yes because we're trying to be nice, or maybe we want to make a good impression. For whatever reason, we've gotten into our heads that saying no makes us rude. Well, okay, so if you're just going around like, no, 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 all the time, then okay, yeah, that might come across as rude. But there are polite and nice ways to say no. Another reason why we say yes is because we don't want to disappoint others, or maybe it's because we don't want to hurt their feelings. And this used to be my reason for saying yes to people. But do you know what got me to stop? When those same people I said yes to, the ones I didn't want to hurt their feelings, they didn't have a problem saying no to me. So if they can say no and it be okay, then surely they'd be understanding than if I said no, right? Sometimes we say yes because we have unrealistic expectations. And this, I think, happens most often for introverts. Sometimes we really just overestimate how much people battery we have left. Or maybe, if you're not an introvert, maybe the unrealistic expectations come in the form of thinking you have more time to get things done than what you really have. And now the last reason we say yes when we really probably should say no is just to avoid conflict. Sometimes we worry about how the other person might react if we say no. What if they get mad at me? We say yes to avoid the conflict, to avoid the fight, to avoid having to explain ourselves, and to avoid anyone being mad at us. Learning to say no is so important. Most of the time, when we say yes to other people, it's because we're putting their feelings above our own. We think that it would be selfish to say no. And, I'm not saying that, it's terrible to put other people's feelings in front of your own, but I also want you to know that saying no isn't selfish. It's self-care. It's okay to say yes sometimes, but when you're ending up exhausted and stressed and a little miserable just to make other people happy all the time, then there's a problem there. You need to take care of yourself too. So I thought it would be helpful to give you a list of things you can say no to. And these are things that you don't need to feel any guilt about. You're allowed to say no, so go ahead right now and give yourself permission. You can say no to anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's crazy to me how many people don't seem to know this. If a situation, activity, whatever makes you feel uncomfortable, you can say no. You can say no to any favor that you don't have time to do. If you have friends or family who are constantly asking you to do or make things for them, it's great if you have the time to help them out. Go ahead and say yes. But be really honest with yourself and realistic about your time. If they ask you for a favor, but your day is already packed full, or maybe you're just not feeling up to it, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say no to social events after you've had a long day. I cannot tell you how many times I've had friends want to hang out after work, but I was just so exhausted. And I knew if I went, I would end up cranky and irritable and just want to go home. I wouldn't be fun to be around. So it's okay to say no to those things. You can also say no to anything that fills you with dread. And I'm not talking about just a twinge of, well, I don't really want to do that. But if you are really dreading an event or chore or whatever, you can say no. But all this saying no isn't just for the sake of saying no. You have to say no to some things so that you can say yes to the things you're passionate about. Because every time you're saying yes to everyone else, you're saying no to yourself. Say yes to you. Number 5, practice a little self-care on the fly. Self-care is so important. You've probably heard me say it a dozen times. But even if you're really busy or can't spend time at home taking care of you, you can use the little things that light you up to practice self-care throughout the day. Treat yourself, girl. Treat yourself. The best way to do this, I think, is to create a sacred space just for you. This could be your room or your cubicle or even your car. But you want to use that space to surround yourself with things that inspire you. You want to make it into your own uplifting, positive getaway. When I worked my 9 to 5, this is the approach I took to my cubicle. I decorated it in a way that inspired me. I covered the cubicle walls with my positive affirmations, and I kept items nearby that lifted my spirit. My desk became a safe space where I could recharge. You want to create a space that is all about you. Surround yourself with the things that you love. But there are lots of ways to practice self-care, even when you don't have a lot of time. And so here are some other ways that you can real easy during your day, boost your mood. You can listen to some soothing or energizing music. Music is a powerful mood booster. And bonus, you don't need to stop what you're doing to listen to music. You can put it on in the background, put in some headphones, and continue about your day. Get outside and breathe some fresh air. Even if you work an office job, chances are you probably get a lunch break. Take a couple minutes to just step outside, see the sunshine if there is any, and get a breath of fresh air. Really, it will do wonders. Bonus points if you use that time to meditate as well. You can diffuse calming essential oils. And if you don't want to keep a diffuser at your desk, or if you're worried about irritating other people with the smells, there are all kinds of other options. I personally use a diffuser necklace. It keeps the oils where I can smell them, and if I'm about to be around, a bunch of people, I can just kind of like tuck the necklace under my shirt if I need to. But there are so many other options. There's diffuser bracelets, diffuser rings. They make little like plastic inhalers. Like there are so many options out there. Another great way to practice self-care is to treat yourself to a hot cup of tea or coffee. It doesn't take very long, but there is something just so cozy and calming about having a warm beverage. And if you can spare like 5 to 10 minutes, actually take the time to sit and enjoy your cup of tea or coffee. Don't do anything else. Just sip and focus on enjoying your treat. And when all else fails, look at puppies and kittens. Puppies and kittens, people. Really, there is no better self-care than looking at pictures of puppies and kittens or any other fluffy baby animal. Treat yourself to something fluffy. And now that fluff ball there on the right is my Emma Kitters. She is such a stinking snuggle butt and I love her. So you're welcome for that. And remember, the best self-care is often in the simplest things. Make sure you're taking time to enjoy the little things in life that make you happy. All right, so let's recap really quick. What did we learn today? We talked about what balance is and what it's not, that it's about nurturing your mind and your spirit, and it's not about time management. We talked about why balance is so important and that it allows you to stay focused and calm. Then there were the 5 ways to create balance. We learned how to use positive affirmations and the importance of creating a positive mindset. We went over how to create balance with meditation, what meditation is and what it isn't. We learned how to be flexible with our to-do lists, what a brain dump is, and how to use it. We learned why it's so important to say no more often and what things we're allowed to say no to. And then we went over a few easy ways to practice self-care throughout the day, even if you're super busy. Okay, so now that you know all these things, what do you do now? Well, now is the time to take action because, it's not enough to just learn the things. You've got to do something about it. So what I want you to do today is I want you to take time to write down your positive affirmations. Put them somewhere where you're going to see them every day. I like to keep mine by the bathroom mirror, so every morning when I get up and go brush my teeth and everything, they're right there. And I also want you to set aside 10 to 15 minutes, either in the morning or in the evening, to start a meditation practice. And I want you to remember that it's so important to do these things every day. You have to be consistent in order for your life to change and for these things to become habits. You need to show up every day and make time for them every day. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I believe you can do it. And it is going to be so incredibly worth it.